In one of the most explosive moments at the Madlanga Commission, businessman Suliman Carrim made a chilling admission under cross-examination, confessing that he paid 500,000 rand to Morgan Maumela's company Lutaga because he was genuinely afraid for his life and the safety of his family. Advocate Shaskalson confronted Carrim with a devastating sequence of facts. He knew from press reports that both Matlala and Morgan Maumela were linked to widespread tender fraud at Tembisa Hospital. He knew they were connected to the possible murder of whistleblower Babita Deokaran, and he knew Maumela was under a SARS preservation order. Despite all of this, Carrim still chose to surrender 1/3 of his very first repayment from the Medicare 24 contract to Maumela's entity, Lutaga, a decision he struggled to explain until the evidence leader cornered him into the truth. Carrim finally broke and admitted that after reading media stories linking Matlala and Maumela to murder, he did not want to get into their crosshairs, stating he had a family to protect and was scared that the allegations might be true. The evidence leader then delivered a devastating warning, putting it directly to Carrim that the commission would have to consider recommending money laundering prosecutions under Section 5 of POCA against him, Matlala, and Maumela for channeling what could be proceeds of crime through Tamiz to Lutaga. Carrim responded by insisting he was simply a businessman who got caught in a web of dangerous people, admitting he made a bad choice but pleading that he never intended to be part of any criminal enterprise.
Yes, I'm aware.
So you were aware that there were these allegations against?
Yes.
And you were aware of those allegations from March 2024?
Yes.
Can we come back to the 500,000 that you pay Lutaga in February 2025?
Yeah. Yes.
At this stage, February 2025, you've just been paid the first 1.5 million of 20 million that Mr. Matlala owes you. You're nodding, that's it.
Yes, yes.
You are anxious that Mr. Matlala is way behind where he should be in paying you.
Yes.
You are aware that there are press reports of a preservation order against Mr. Maumela.
Yes.
You are aware that there are press reports linking Mr. Maumela and Mr. Matlala to widespread fraud at Tembisa Hospital.
I was aware of that much, yes, at that time, yes.
You are aware that the same press reports link them to the possible murder of Babita Deokaran.
Yes, they were not charged for that, yes.
But there were press reports raising those allegations, right? Why in those circumstances did you choose to pay 500,000, 1/3 of what your first payment was, to Mr. Maumela?
Like I said, Council, before, Mr. Matlala put a lot of pressure. He wanted me to pay 750. And once I saw these newspaper articles, I did not want to get into their crosshairs. And when I looked at these articles, I said to Mr. Matlala, it's fine. I can't pay 750. What I'll do is I'll pay 500. I cannot do 750.
Why did you pay anything at all? This man owed you money, large amounts of it.
Yes, but there were more invoices coming, and he promised me that on the next payments, he'd do good and give me a top-up on that. So
you understood yourself to have an agreement with Mr. Matlala that he would repay you 20 million rands out of invoices
over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Correct.
You were worried that he wasn't doing that.
Yes.
And yet you choose, when you first get paid, to give up 1/3 of your payment.
Yes, because we had another 20 million rand worth of invoices, or he had another 20 million rand of invoices that needed to go in for payment. And he promised to do good on that.
How did you know he had another 20 million rands worth of invoices?
He told me.
And what evidence did he provide in that regard?
He sent me the purchase orders, all these documents that there's a whole lot of purchase orders that were here. That was proof that he had money still outstanding to him.
Those purchase orders, those long lists of purchase orders, were sent in April.
Yes, but he had not delivered on them.
He had not delivered on them.
I mean, these are previously to these purchase orders, he had more purchase orders. He had a lot of purchase orders. Mr. Matlala had a lot of purchase orders. Hence, in January, he needed more cash to deliver on those purchase orders.
Which purchase orders had he sent you by February when you chose to pay 500,000 to Mr. Maumela?
It was these that were going to come. He knew these were coming.
He may have known that they were going to come, but he hadn't sent them to you, had he?
No, we spoke about them.
You spoke about them. So Mr. Matlala told you, don't worry, I'm getting more purchase orders.
Yes.
And why did you not say to Mr. Matlala, you can pay Mr. Maumela out of your share of the
I did
money
do
that has
that,
come?
Council. I did. I on several occasions told him that he can pay him on his own. He just requested, and he just kept on asking, and then I agreed to do that.
Mr. Carrim, you don't strike me as someone who just lets business partners walk all over him if they request.
Mr. Shaskalson, you raised a very important issue. You fingered these two individuals on a murder. You just said that a few minutes ago. So I read this in the media. Yes, I'm a businessman. Yes, I have a family. I have people to protect. I've got kids. At that moment in time, I did not know whether these rumors are true or not.
Well, that's an answer that I can accept, Mr. Carrim. But we'd have saved a lot of time if you had come up and set out with that answer right at the beginning. If your answer is you thought that you might be dealing with a murderer, so you didn't want to say no to him, well, then that's an answer I can accept. Is that your answer?
I'm saying alleged, these stories were in the media. I'm not saying he is, I'm saying I read. So yes, I was afraid of that.
So you're saying now that in addition to his asking as a reason for paying 500,000 to Mr. Maumela's chosen payee, Mr. Matlala's chosen payee, Mr. Maumela, you also had some misgivings that the media reports may be true and that you may need to say yes to protect yourself and your family.
Yes.
My concern about that answer is that all of these press reports we were talking about had been circulating broadly since April 2024. So why did you go into business with Mr. Matlala in June 2024 if you'd seen all of those reports?
Like I said, it was at the back of my mind. Now, when our own police, South African Police Service, that must be there to protect us, give Mr. Matlala a contract of 360 million rand, who am I to vet Mr. Matlala when our own police services awarded this man a contract of 360 million? So if he was that dodgy character, why would SAPS then award him a contract for 360 million?
Well, Mr. Carrim, I don't find that answer convincing either, because one of your recurrent refrains here is that Mr. Matlala is constantly looking for people who have connections within the SAPS and within the ministry to exercise influence over his contract.
Chair, I might be mistaken. I don't recall this witness giving that evidence.
Yes, I didn't.
So, you believed.
Oh, Mr. Shaskalson, you.
I'll rephrase it. You believed that if Mr. Matlala thought that you could influence the SAPS and you could influence the minister, he would be more likely to pay you.
I did say that. But clearly, Mr. Matlala was much more connected in the SEPs than me.
Yes, but the corollary of believing that Mr. Matlala was interested in people who could influence the police must have been a suspicion that Mr. Matlala was looking to manipulate processes within the police and the ministry.
Counsel, you'll have to ask him about that. I can't comment on him.
Yes, but in response to your answer that you were reassured that the police themselves had given Mr. Matlala this contract, so you felt, notwithstanding the reports, that you could go into business with him. I want to put to you that you should have anticipated that there was a possibility that Mr. Matlala had manipulated the processes within the police.
I was not part of that process, Counsel.
I'm not saying that you were part of that process. I'm saying you should have anticipated that he was part of that process.
Counsel, when someone brings you an appointment letter, you don't question the appointment letter. I did not know if there was anything untoward done in that process. I didn't know.
And not only do you enter into a contract with him, or you enter into an agreement with him, but you advance him 10 million rands without a written contract. Why did you do that?
There was a draft agreement set in place. There was a funding agreement set in place. We'd agreed that the funding agreement would be signed after the SLA.
This is the first time you've mentioned this draft funding agreement. Does a copy of this thing still exist?
Yes.
Again, I'd ask that that gets sent through to the Commission. But I come back to my earlier question. Are you in the habit of advancing 10 million rands to relative strangers without any written agreement, never mind any security?
At that moment in time, when I met Mr. Matlala, we drew up the agreements. He had the award letter. We then agreed that I'd nominate someone to get onto the bank from my office, which we did, just so that we could get the SLA and then get the funding agreement signed. So we appointed someone from my office onto the bank for notifications as security for releasing funds.
Sorry, you appointed someone?
Yes, from my office. Mr. Matlala allowed me to bring someone and nominate them onto the bank account.
Onto the bank account of Medicare 24?
Correct.
Why hadn't you mentioned that earlier?
We're talking about it now, Counsel.
That's not my question. Why hadn't you mentioned it earlier?
You're asking about an agreement or any security, so I had someone on the bank account.
You were asked to explain your relationship with Medicare 24. Did you not think it was relevant to know that you had someone with signing powers over their bank
It
account?
was not signing powers, Counsel. So it was just notification for the initial stage.
Sorry, notification?
Meaning he's appointed, so any funds coming in, any funds going out, we'd get the notifications of that.
Yes. And who was that person?
Mr. Ziad Khair.
Can you spell that?
Z-I-Y-A-A-D.
Mr. Ziad who?
Khair. K-H-A-I-R.
And he received notification of all movements on the account of Medicare 24.
Yes, let me elaborate, Counsel.
Please do.
We appointed Mr. Khair on the bank account. That lasted not more than a month. Mr. Khair was removed. I then contact Mr. Matlala and ask him,
Removed by whom?
I called him, it had to be removed by the owner of the account, obviously. I then call him and ask him what's going on. He then says to me, look, I need someone else. I need an accountant. Can you get me an accountant? Can you get me a CV of someone that's capable? I agree. I then call a friend of mine from Pulukwani, Mr. Faik Mohammed.
Please,
Mr.
please
Fa-
spell the name.
Faaik, and then Mohammed. Mr. Faik comes with his CV. He goes to Medicare 24. He has a meeting with Mr. Matlala and Mr. Van Wyk. They then agree to appoint him on their board, which is every Monday, bi-weekly. Mr. Faik must attend these meetings and they would then remunerate him. They pay him for these services. We agree, Mr. Faik gets appointed. They agree on a remuneration. Mr. Faik sits on this board every Monday for invoicing. That lasts for a month again. Mr. Faik doesn't get paid, he gets removed. He just doesn't get invited to meetings again. Call Mr. Matlala again. He says, no, you know, Mike's got this problem, Mike's got that problem, Mr. Van Wyk's got this problem. But from all the correspondence between Mr. Mohammed and the board, Mr. Mohammed was doing his work. There's chats between Mr. Mohammed and the board of Mr. Mohammed's work that he has to do. But Mr. Mohammed was also removed and not paid. And I raised this with Mr. Matlala. He kept on saying, no, we'll sort it out. And at that time, events were getting up to us because now I'm not getting paid. I'm not getting paid. My people are getting removed. I'm putting pressure on him to pay. He needs to deliver. And I want him to sign the funding agreement. He kept on saying, yes, we'll sign the agreement, get the SLA. I finally get a copy of the SLA. I call him and he kept on saying, we'll get the funding agreement signed, but the funding agreement never got signed.
Again, this is new information for us, so I just want to get a few particulars. When was Mr. Ziad Khair put on to notifications and when was he removed?
Council, sometime in July, early July. I think
Was that his appointment or his removal?
his appointment.
And he was removed approximately a month later.
I think a month later, yes.
And Mr. Mohammed was then notionally appointed to the board. Would that have been in August?
No, much later.
Much later.
Yeah,
So there was an interregnum period when you had nobody.
August, he submitted his CV around August, September, somewhere around there. He submitted his CV.
And you say he lasted on the board approximately a month.
Yeah, just over a month. He attended a few meetings and they never called him back for any other meetings.
So when was he nominally on the board, if you were to give us a start date and an end date?
September, sometime mid-September to October. I'd have to check.
So September, October is what you're looking at?
Yeah, I speak under correction, Council. I need to check this.
Please do, and maybe overnight if you can get us some exact dates on those. And if I understood you correctly, although Mr. Matlala had asked for Mr. Mohammed to be there, he effectively gave Mr. Mohammed no access to the affairs of the company.
He did have some access in the beginning. He did have some access in the beginning.
What did you understand that access to be?
From what I understood, he would have some access into the banking system of Medcare 24. I speak under correction, but he had some access into the system of Medcare 24 or the banking.
So he could look to a certain degree into transaction records.
Yes, I
Is
think,
what you understood.
yes.
But then possibly in October, that access was removed.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the dates, but he was also removed. We just have to get
Yes.
the correct timelines on the dates, yes, but he was removed.
And after his removal, was there anybody else who was given access at your instance?
I asked, but nothing was done.
Were you not at this stage starting to get rather suspicious of your business partner?
Yes, I was.
So by the end of October, you are concerned that your business partner is not only someone who's alleged to have been involved in tender fraud and possibly murder, but he's also someone who seems not to want to give you access to his accounts.
Yeah, we just have to get the dates correct. Could be later in October. So